This is a video about psychological warfare and geopolitics, and if you need some dopamine spikes or something else to make stuff interesting for you, this unfortunately is nothing for you because this is super boring. You won't like it, so you can skip if you want right now. For everybody else, hang on. This is essentially why today's world is so fucked. So, why today's world is so fucked starts with an interview of a KGB agent. In the 1984, a man sat down for an interview, and his name was Yuri Bezmenov. Yuri Bezmenov was born near Moscow. He worked for the Novosti Press Agency, and this was a propaganda front for the KGB, all right? And yeah, Yuri was an informer there. And he said only about 50% of the time, money and manpower is spent on espionage. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures of or psychological warfare. Which means 85% of what they are doing is not bombs, it's not bullets, it's not like the James Bond type of espionage, or if I watch Netflix every once in a while, then I watch Archer. I like Archer, right? But it's not this cool type of espionage. It's ideas, ladies and gentlemen, ideas. So in the beginning of his career, Yuri was stationed in India, and he was working in the Soviet embassy in New Delhi, running propaganda operations, right? Building networks of influence, and then recruiting something what they would call useful idiots, people in positions of power who would spread the Soviet ideology without even knowing they are being used. All right. So at some point, Yuri changed because he saw what this system really was. He saw how the Soviets operated in countries like India and Pakistan. He saw weapons sitting in boxes. He saw the repression of anyone who dared to think outside of the box and differently. So he made a decision and changed his life forever, and he left undercover. He, he dressed as a hippie and then fled to Greece. So he was given a new identity, um, Thomas David Schumann, and resettled in Canada. So the problem was Yuri knew the playbook, and in 1984 he sat down and told the entire Western society how their civilization was destroyed from the inside, step by step. And this is what we are going to talk about right now. He said, what it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interest of defending themselves, their families, their community, their country. And since, in my opinion, Germany is the little brother of the USA, the same is happening in Germany. So let that sink in for a moment. Despite the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions. Does that sound familiar? For me, it does. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Think about it. We live in the most informed generation in human history. We have the entire knowledge of mankind right here in our pocket all the time. And yet people are more confused and more divided and more lost than ever. Isn't it like so, my friend? It is. And that's not an accident. That is the plan. And yeah, it's on purpose. And Yuri, in this interview, explained how this worked in 4 stages. So essentially, the world is cooked. You and me, we are. Of course, we can defend our families and do our best, yes. But he showed the step-by-step plan why everything is happening, how it's happening. So, the foundation. The most important stage takes 15 to 20 years to complete. Why? Because that's the minimum time needed to re-educate one full generation of students. So they start with the students, which is smart. And here's how it works. You take the things that made a civilization strong, its faith, its values, the family structure, very important, the education, you slowly replace it with something else. Something that looks like progress, something that sounds like freedom, but is actually poison. In religion, you disconnect them from faith and replace it with artificial belief systems, new age spirituality without depth, and materialism and consumerism. And in education, instead of teaching mathematics, chemistry, history, philosophy, things that actually build strong minds, you fill their curriculum with bullshit, gender studies or whatever. And I saw it with my own eyes. And that was a tough one for me. When I was still living in Germany, I had a girlfriend in that time, right? And she was going to a Christian university, And she was forced at the Christian university, she was forced to have one semester of gender studies. That was not optional. She had to. She had to on a Christian university. Think about that for a moment. A university built on Christian values is forcing their students to study an ideology that directly contradicts the foundation it was built on. I told her not to listen to that bullshit and she trusted me. Great. So that's not education. That is subversion. And this is happening everywhere. Young people at universities are being taught gender studies or sexuality, at some university even demonology. What the fuck? Instead of things that actually help them to build a life, practical skills, financial literacy. No, well, we just dump bullshit in their minds, and it works. It works. And there's another quote from Bezmenov I got for you about education. Distract them from learning something constructive, pragmatic, and efficient. Instead of mathematics, chemistry, history, teach them sexuality, home economy, anything to distract. My friend, it's working fine. It's working very good. So, and this is what he said in the 1984. Look around you. To me, it seems like everything is working as planned. Next one, in social life, the playbook says to replace traditionally established institutions with fake organizations and take the initiative away from the people, take away the natural links between individuals and replace them with bureaucratic controlled systems. Look around you. Where's your community? Where's your village? Where's your tribe? It has all been replaced by social media, governmental programs, by systems that keep you dependent and isolated. Isn't it like so, my friend? We think we are connected, but everybody's with the phone like this or like this. Nobody's thinking anymore, and we are so disconnected from each other. Nobody talks to each other anymore. Everybody's in their own little bubble, scrolling through a screen, and we call this connected. Come on, bro. And then, now we're getting funny. Now we go into some Marxist stuff. Then it's about eliminating the family bond and replace the main concern with a paycheck. So the family is an absolute foundation for everything, for any strong civilization. And this has systematically been destroyed. Single motherhood is normal, fatherlessness is an epidemic, and instead of addressing this, the system offers us welfare checks and tells you everything is fine. Everything is fine. And I'm not making this up. This is not a conspiracy. I got another little quote, but this time it's something else. This time it's from the Communist Manifest from Marx and Engels. Listen. Capital 2. Abolition of the family. Even the most radical flare-up at this infamous proposal of the communist On what foundation is the present family, the bourgeois family, based? On capital, on private gain. The bourgeois family will vanish as a matter of course when its complement vanishes, and both will vanish with the vanishing of capital. So basically, they set and plan what the communist leaders, Marx and Engels, had in mind. And yeah, it works. It works. So that's written in their own book, black on white. They told you what they want to do. They want to destroy family, and look around you. Can you see what's happening? Young women hate their own fathers because the white man is the enemy. And like so, family is getting destroyed, and so much more, so much more. And like this, all those actually innocent young women get thrown into the world because the yin and yang of the proper family is destroyed. And more sex because we don't have anchors of tradition and religion anymore. Family is destroyed. And next one, the law enforcement put into place a slow substitution of basic moral principles, where somebody is being used as a criminal is now considered a victim. Where the language is flipped, where right becomes wrong and where wrong becomes right. And this, by the way, is called satanic inversion. This is what they do. Just look at the symbolism. The normal cross from Christianity is like this, and they just make it upside down. This is what they do. Right becomes wrong, and strong becomes toxic. Family becomes oppression. Man, it's literally right in front of our eyes. But yeah. But if I speak to normal people in public, they call me the idiot. And Basmanov said something else about that. About demoralized people. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, he will refuse to believe it. And yeah, I tried this in the past as well. Tried to speak to people, tried to wake up people. Yeah, and as I said before, I was considered the idiot, and back in the days I didn't have so much money, for example. Now, no, money is fine, and I have lots of friends who are entrepreneurs with money in the same mindset. So I figured for myself nowadays, okay, I'm not the issue. But back in the days when I was struggling and I was just thinking outside of the box, and I wasn't walking in line like everybody else, and I was telling them, hey, there's something wrong here. I said, shut up, Fabio. You're crazy. You're psychotic. You're this and that. You're this and that. Yeah. Didn't get COVID vaccine by today and never will. And different topic. Different topic. Yeah, this stuff always makes me a bit emotional. And usually I don't speak about it because, it hurts my heart. But yeah. If you look around, the brainwash worked. It worked exactly like Bezmenov described it. And you can show them everything, they will refuse to see it. Not because the evidence isn't there, it's because their mind has been rewired to reject it. It's a good job. They did a good job. It's not like they did a bad job, but it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And yeah. Stage 2 is destabilization. According to Bezmenov, this takes 2 to 5 years. What it's about is to destabilize all the accepted institutions and organizations, radicalize negotiations, and normalize violent protest. The media places itself in the opposition to society to alienate the people from each other. Take BLM, for example. The whole thing, just think about it. Just think about it. It's so normal. It's so normal. And I'm German, all right? And what I'm about to say will be uncomfortable to some people. And what happened under the Nazi regime was horrific. And the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, if the number is right or wrong, I don't know. Let's just keep it in mind for a while, all right? This was one of the darkest chapters of human history. I'm not disputing that. Exclamation mark. But consider the following. In Germany today, it's completely acceptable to be communist. You can wear a hammer and sickle on your shirt. You can openly advocate communist ideology. Nobody bats an eye. Nobody cares. But if you, as a German, hang a German flag on your balcony, people will look at you sideways because it's associated with right wing association. Simply showing pride to your own country as a German is suspicious. Think about how insane that is. The Germans were re educated to hate themselves. Because of what happened in the past, an entire nation was conditioned to feel shame for their own identity. And I'm not saying that what happened wasn't terrible. It was, all right? But an entire nation of people that had nothing to do with it are carrying guilt for something they didn't do. And yet, communism is somehow acceptable, and nobody has a problem with that. Let me give you some numbers. There's a black book of communism, which was published in 1997, 1979, 1997 by European and American academics, all right? And they estimated the death toll of communist regimes at approximately 95 million people. Some professor at the University of in Hawaii calculated approximately 110 million. And some other institute put out the number upwards of 80 million. And multiple scholars estimated around 100 million in total, all right? So let's stick to 100. Roughly 17 times more people died under communism, but wearing a hammer and sickle is acceptable. I call brainwash again. That's subversion right there. That's exactly what Basmanov was speaking about. The perception of reality has been changed to such a degree that people can't even see this obvious contradiction. The Soviet Union alone was responsible for at least 20 million deaths. Come on, there's just more. There's more to it. Just come on, okay? You understand me? And this is acceptable. This ideology gets a pass. There's a reason for that. And in my opinion, I'll tell you something else. In my opinion, the Nazis and the communists, they just shared a mindset that we weren't aware of it. Because, in my opinion, it's just Satanism. Because if you look at what happens is human sacrifice on a massive scale. Massive scale, but that's a whole different topic for a different day. Stage 3. Stage 3 is rapid, as Basmanov said. It can happen in weeks. Basically, the process starts when the when the legitimate bodies of power control cannot function anymore. Instead, artificial bodies are injected into societies. Non-elected committees, organizations, councils that claim power over how you have to live your life. And if power is denied to them, they take it by force. And 2020, COVID, you weren't allowed to leave your house, and everything that happened to it, you had to have a piece of paper to sit in a restaurant or go to the gym, or you have to have a pass. Was this someone who you voted for, or was it some unelected health officials nobody ever heard speaking before? They just were there. Or WHO trying to get pandemic treaty pushed through that would give them even more authority over sovereign nations. An authority no country even voted for. They were just there. Or BlackRock and their fucking investments in a... Yeah. Non-elected bodies claiming power over me and you and our lives, exactly what Basmanov described. And they are often, in Basmanov's words, half-baked intellectuals. And they always think they got the solution for all the societal problems. Well, interesting, right? And then what happens? The population at large is looking for a savior, someone to solve the crisis that has been artificially created. They call for centralized powers. They call for strong government to take control. And a savior is provided, either by the foreign nation, by the sleeper agent, or by the system itself. They call it revolution. And the people, as they are at this point demoralized, destabilized, desperate, they will follow. Because this is what they do. They give away the ability to think for themselves, and yeah, now they have to be led like cows, basically like cows, just getting led all the time, or sheep or whatever, goats. You get me? Yeah, the final stage is called normalization, and this is where it gets dark. Normalization means making the result of the subversion seem normal. Your country is normalized. At this point, the activists, the liberals, the social workers, and everybody else, the same people who helped bring the system down, they get eliminated. They're not needed anymore. The new owners need stability to exploit the country and take advantage of the victory. And Basmanov said it plainly. The Marxists shoot their own revolutionaries. Think about it. Because those useful idiots who thought they were fighting for a better world, they have to be silenced because they know too much. And those peoples are basically rebels. And if they figure out what's happening, they will rebel again. So better just kill them. And once this subverted culture is normalized, the only way to reverse it is military intervention, according to Basmanov. That's it. Game over, unless you do something about it. I don't know how. So yeah, the most difficult and simplest answer against subversion is to start before the demoralization is complete. Bring back real values, bring back faith. Not necessarily religion, but faith in something larger than ourselves, in our purpose, in our path, in truth. There's something I respect about Muslim, and I feel most close to the Christian faith. And nowadays, Christians get mocked. It's normal to mock them. Videos on the internet, or South Park, or whatever, making fun of Christian God, of Jesus. It's entertainment, nobody cares. Well, nobody does this to Muslims. Why? Because they didn't let it happen. They didn't suffer from this same subversion as Christians did. And if somebody tries to mock them, their God, well, they get huge repercussions. We Christians don't do that anymore. And it's the same stuff. If we would try, we could point it in at the history. Do you remember what you did back in the days? Same with Germany. Do you remember what you did back in the days? Because of that, guilt trap can't move. Yeah, this is not a war of guns. This is a war of ideas for the mind and the identity. It's a war for the heart and minds of people instead of a war for their land. Win their hearts and minds, and they will become, the enemies of their own country. This is what's happening right now, in my opinion. People are giving it all away. They don't even know it because their mind is polluted already. They're brainwashed, zombies, and they don't understand it. If you try to speak to them, it doesn't come through, and they defend all their ideas forever because they're smart, right? They learned everything they know in the university. And I was not in the university, therefore I cannot be as smart as they are. But consider that Japan got nuked twice and rebuilt into a global power because the society wasn't subverted, it was just nuked, right? But if you subvert something, that's worse than an atomic bomb. That's why belief matters. This is why who you are matters. This is why the fight starts inside of you, not on a battlefield or social media or whatever, inside of you. If the virus is planted at some point and, the flower of the virus is growing, like this seed is planted and the flower is growing, it's essentially fucked. Everything is fucked. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to share this with you. This is what I believe in. This is what, in my opinion, is happening to the West. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? I can only tell you what I'm doing about it. I can't change the world or help everybody, even if I wanted to. It's not my job either. The only thing for us as proper men is to be aware of what is happening around us, control our minds, control the influences that we are having all around us, movies, music, mass media, everything we consume, Reddit, all of that bullshit. Protect your loved ones and try to make the world a better place. Without hate, without pointing fingers, without blaming others. Because in the end of the day, the change has to be inside of you. And it was always inside of you. You just forgot. So yeah, try to be the best version of yourself you can be. And don't let yourself hanging. You got that. Hope it helped somebody to rethink. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for listening. Stay strong. See you in the next one.